Oh, we're going. Rejoice, everyone. We're back with another Sekhie Reacts to Fate. This week, you want to pronounce this one for me, Sekhie? Because I just call him Ass Man.
Why do you call him Ass Man? Ashwatthama?
Thank you.
Or Ashwatthama, depending on how it's anglicized, because it's been, done as both. Yeah? You also could just call him Drowny. Because that's another name that he goes by in Hindu mythology. Ass Man seems a little... I mean, unless this man has a fantastic ass, it seems a little...
It's literally just because of the AS at the start of his name.
Okay. Alright. So, we might have actually mentioned Ashwatthama before in the Arjuna and Karna videos. I think I might have mentioned it. I don't particularly remember, super well. I'd pull out the Mahabharata, but I really don't feel like excavating that from my bookshelf right at this moment. Nick Nack can see where it is. It is not in a convenient spot.
Actually, I can't, but I'm sure I could find it. I'm blind, apparently.
I think you're looking at the wrong bookcase. No, guys, we're gonna wait for this now.
I see the Ramayana.
Uh-huh.
I have to assume it's somewhere around there, knowing your
It is somewhere around there.
Is it vertical or horizontal?
It is also horizontal.
It's not that black or the red and white one that I can't read the text of, is it?
Nope.
Okay.
Hang on, this shit's hilarious, y'all. I'm gonna take a picture of my bookcase and I'll put it on screen now.
Oh, I see it now. It's right below Egyptian mythology. Why is it on a different shelf than the Ramayana? That's not like you.
Because I got them at different times and I couldn't fit the Ramayana onto the same shelf as the Mahabharata. And also, the Ramayana is a paperback and the Mahabharata is a hardcover. Even though they're from the same edition.
That Dr. Pepper can that's probably empty is like you, though.
It is, in fact, empty, and it was there because when Bacchus was over, I needed a place to put my can while we were streaming, and I couldn't reach around this to find a place to put it. There's a pile of books right here that is taking up like a quarter of my available desk space. And most of Nick Nack's available desk space at this moment.
I feel like I have to fight to get any kind of desk space.
Look, it's not... Yeah, you might have to fight the books. You're gonna hurt yourself if you punch that shit. Anyways. So, the reason why we might have talked about him when we did the videos about Arjuna and Karna is because So we talked about Duryodhana, the eldest brother of the Kauravas.
Who's also an FGO now, and I didn't realize how connected these characters were until I did the research. I'm like, oh, we could have scheduled them together, and we didn't. Huh.
We should have.
But he wasn't out when we made the schedule out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, because Duryodhana and Ashwatthama are like two peas in a pod. Because they grew up together. And then they're like best friends up until like a certain point, but they're still friends. But yeah, so Ashwatthama is one of Duryodhana's like closest friends and most loyal followers, right? Which is why we might have talked about him. Also, he confronts Arjuna several times in person, with some very notable outcomes to those interactions, having to do with like triggering ancient epic weapons and such. So he's, to be honest, like, when we originally did, I know that the other characters weren't out at the time, but when we did Arjuna and Karna, it would have been smart if the other characters had been out to just do, like, Bhima, Duryodhana, Ashwatthama.
When we originally did Arjuna and Karna, Ashwatthama was out.
See, I didn't know he was a servant, though, because we should have done them together, to be honest.
But I didn't know that they were connected characters until I played the chapter he was in, which hadn't been out in NA yet.
And then we got Duryodhana as a character. I think Bhima is also now a character. So there's a lot more.
No, that chapter was out. I just wasn't thinking about it, and I didn't realize how connected they were in the original stories. We also didn't do Arjuna and Karna together either, though. So.
No, but we did them sequentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways. So, hearken all of you who saw the Arjuna and Karna videos, and remember back to the conflict between the Kauravas and the Pandavas, and the Kurukshetra War, because we're going to be discussing that in a little bit. So, let's see. So the etymology of his name supposedly translates directly to something along the lines of the sacred voice, which relates to that of a horse, which is an allusion to the fact that apparently when he was born and he started crying, it sounded like the cries of a horse. And horses are important to Ashwatthama, as we will see a little bit later as well. So he was born to Drona and Creepy. And yeah, I know, every time I said creepy, it's not spelled like that. But he was born in a forest cave after his father Drona had performed like years and years of penance in order to please Shiva, because he wanted to get a son that had like the same sort of like bravery and abilities as like Shiva, but on the mortal plane essentially. So Ashwatthama was born with the power to control any living being that was sort of lower than him, and by lower just kind of like lower in sort of the order of which beings are more powerful than others. So like animals would be below him and stuff like that. And then this power he had also protected him from thirst, hunger, fatigue, old age, disease, being wounded by weapons, and gods, right? And this was a gem in his forehead that he was born with. So essentially he was born immortal and invincible with control over animals. Which is pretty fucking epic for like, man's a Disney princess mixed with Achilles. Except without the tendon. Yeah, but his father Drona, even though he was an expert in warfare, he lived a really simple life, right? So he didn't have a lot of money, and as a result, growing up, Ashwatthama had a pretty tough childhood. His family couldn't typically afford a whole lot of food or things to nourish him, and so eventually Drona would go to the Panchala kingdom, because he was friends with the king of the Panchala kingdom, Drupada. And Drupada had promised Drona that when he became the king of the Panchala, he would split his kingdom and share half of it with Drona. But when he showed up, Drupada was like, nah, fuck you. I could never be friends with a poor person. And then Drona left because he was humiliated. And I would be too. But after
his fault for being poor.
Exactly what Drupada said. And we'll see what happens to Drupada later. So after this, Kripa, who was a counselor to the Pandala, not Pandala, the kingdom where the Pandavas and the Kauravas were born, right? So he went to invite Drona to come to Hastinapura. And there, Drona would accept the position to become like sort of a weapons teacher and guru to both the Pandavas and the Kauravas. So he was teaching Arjuna, Karna, Duryodhana, like all of them, right, at the same time. And as a result, Ashwatthama was trained in the art of warfare alongside them as he grew up. He was an expert in warfare, learned a lot of secrets and divine weapons because he was growing up with the people who were learning to use these things, right? So while he was growing up with the princes, Duryodhana saw that Ashwatthama was really fond of horses. I mean, Ashwatthama, #horse girl, right? Ashwatthama is a horse girl. And so Duryodhana was like, here, have this really nice horse. And Ashwatthama was like, I swear my entire life and being to your soul and your cause, because you have given me a nice horse. So horse girl loyalty for the win. I say as a former horse girl myself. So Ashwatthama was sworn to the Kauravas through Duryodhana, and then his father was also sworn to the Hastinapura and the Kauravas. So at some point, Drona asked those who served under him to essentially give him like taxes or tribute in the form of the capture of the man who had humiliated him, Drupada, right? And so the Kauravas failed, but the Pandavas did defeat him, and they presented him to Drona, at which point Drona took half the kingdom and crowned Ashwatthama king of this half of the kingdom, in sort of retribution for the humiliation and to fulfill the promise that was promised to him. So their involvement in the Kurukshetra War is kind of interesting. So on the 10th day, we're starting on the 10th day. On the 10th day of the war, Bhishma, the former commander of the Kaurava forces, fell, right? And so Drona was invited to become the new supreme commander of the armies. He promised to the prince Duryodhana that he would be the one to capture Yudhishthira, but then he would repeatedly failed to capture this thing. And as a result, the prince basically just taunted and insulted him, which caused a rift between Ashwatthama and Duryodhana at the time, right? Because, you're insulting my father. He's trying his best.
Excuse you.
He's trying his best. So, knowing that it was impossible to defeat Drona when he was armed, because Arjuna refused to kill his teacher, Krishna suggested that they should disarm Drona through some sort of plot. Bhima proceeded to kill an elephant that was named Ashwatthama and then tell Drona that he killed his son, right? Because he could say, I killed Ashwatthama, and it wouldn't be a lie, right? He just wasn't telling the full truth. As a result, Drona would approach Yudhishthira, knowing that they were adhering to dharma and honesty. So he believed them that they had killed Ashwatthama. So he asked for the truth, and Yudhishthira responded, Ashwatthama is dead, the elephant. But he said it like this. So man, this is what happened. He says, is Ashwatthama dead? Ashwatthama is dead, the elephant. Sneaky. Just whispered the elephant, barely audibly on the ends that he couldn't hear. Then Drishtadyumna used this opportunity to kill Drona as revenge for killing his father, who had been Drupada, the king. And because of this, Ashwatthama was filled with righteous wrath over how his father was tricked and murdered, and he then invoked the Narayanastra against the Pandavas. Now, the Narayanastra is the first of the divine weapons that he invokes in the story. It is essentially a celestial missile, right? So what happens is he calls this weapon down, and then an arrow appears in front of every single person sworn to the Pandavas that is fighting on the battlefield. Every single person. And the only way to avoid getting hit by this, right, is to not be considered like an armed enemy, right? So like the weapon is invoked, winds blew, thunder echoed, and an arrow just appeared in front of every single Pandava soldier, right? And this includes like the Pandavas, right? So the only way to get out of it would be to have all of their troops abandon the chariots and completely disarm themselves, so that the curse essentially viewed them as like non-combatants and it wouldn't kill them. So they did get most of them to like disarm and dismount, although one Akshauhini, which is like a battle unit of like 21,000 chariots, did die, right, from this invoking of the Narayanastra. And the Narayanastra specifically is a weapon of Vishnu when he is in the form of Narayana. So, seeing that his weapon, his celestial missile, didn't really kill the Pandavas, he then decided that he was going to invoke the Agnayastra. The Agnayastra is another supernatural weapon where essentially what happens is you pray to a specific deity, and it can be multiple different deities, right? So like you pick a deity, you pray to them, they imbue any weapon released from your hand with spiritual and occult powers. This could be an arrow. This could also be a thrown sword. Truly an archer, if you ever saw one. And this is my argument for Ashwatthama being an archer. I'm sorry, it was a joke. Fate with their archers.
Let's keep going.
So he launched the weapon at Arjuna, and it had kind of overpowered and encompassed him, But when seeing the arrow coming at him, Arjuna would turn around basically and use his Varunastra, which is another epic, spiritual weapon, to essentially like cancel out the two like magical weapons by like blowing them up in the middle. But it did destroy another Akshauhini, right? Like another battle unit of the army, with just Arjuna and Krishna managing to survive of all the people that were there in that area. So Ashwatthama was very shocked by this because he was like, what the fuck? I've released two celestial weapons and neither one of them has done what I wanted it to. So he flees the battlefield, super confused, right? He's like, I'm a weapons master and I can't kill these people. Dude, mood. So eventually, Ashwatthama would be able to defeat T.H.E in direct combat, but then he failed to strike the killing blow because two of his allies covered his retreat, right? So he, during the course of the Kurukshetra War, Ashwatthama was known to be able to fire like millions of arrows at the same time, right? So many that even Arjuna was like, what the fuck, bruh? Like, what is happening here? Ashwatthama multiple times tried to overpower Arjuna, but eventually would end up fleeing after his body was pierced with several arrows and he was knocked unconscious. Like his charioteers would drive him away from the battlefield. On the 14th day, it's known that he killed a division of Rakshasas, which included the son of Ghatotkacha, who we talked about before, as well, and Ghatotkacha himself. And during this battle, he also tried to stand against Arjuna and stop him from reaching Jayadratha, but would end up being defeated and running from the battlefield. But during this process of stopping Arjuna from getting to Jayadratha, Ashwatthama saved the divine celestial armor of Duryodhana by using one of his fancy arrows to destroy an equally fancy arrow launched by Arjuna. I feel like I'm talking about Arjuna and Duryodhana more than I am about Ashwatthama. That's how connected these characters are. So, one of the people fighting on the side of the Pandavas was King Malayadhavaya of the Pandya kingdom. And he was having a duel of archery with Ashwatthama. Eventually, he was rendered weaponless and had the opportunity and Ashwatthama had the opportunity to kill him, but he spared him to sort of fight some more. And then the king proceeded to approach Ashwatthama on an elephant and throw a lance at his head, destroying his diadem. And then he beheaded him and killed 6 of his followers and cut off his arms. And the Kaurava were like, yeah, we've won a victory. But at this point, Ashwatthama actually suggested that Duryodhana should make peace with the Pandavas, right? Because his father and him had been sworn to Hastinapura, right? So it was like, you should try to make peace. But Duryodhana was then struck down by an arrow, I think from Bhima, right? Near death. And so there were 3 survivors left on the Kaurava side. Ashwatthama, Kripa, and Kritvarma. The 3 of them rushed to Duryodhana's side, and they swore to bring him revenge. Ashwatthama was then appointed as commander-in-chief, because the previous one had been killed that same day. So, Kripa, Kritvarma, and Ashwatthama planned to attack the camp of the Pandavas under the cover of night. As they approached, though, he encountered a ghost that had taken the form of Shiva that was guarding the camp. He did not recognize Shiva, though, and so he attacked the ghost. And none of his weapons made any difference. But a golden altar then manifested in front of him. He offered a sacrifice of libation to gain passage into the camp. And when he did this, Shiva appeared in his true form, gave him a divine sword, and then took over his body as he entered the camp. So when he entered the camp, he kicked and awakened T.H.E, right, the one who had killed his father, and proceeded to start to strangle him. And as he strangled him, the prince pleaded to be allowed to die fighting with a sword in his hand, and Ashwatthama just choked him to death, did not give him this option, and then proceeded to butcher the remaining warriors in the camp. Not like slaughter in combat, butcher the remaining warriors, right? And keep in mind, Shiva is in his body driving him through this process. So Anyone who tried to flee from the camp would end up being hacked to death by Kripa and Kritvarma, who were at the entrance of the camp, like standing outside of it. During the slaughter, though, the Pandavas were not present, right? So they returned to Duryodhana, right? Told him of the death of all the Panchalas and the Upapandavas. Duryodhana congratulated Ashwatthama. He was like, you did what Bhishma, Drona, and Karna could not do for me. And then he died, right? Because remember, he was on death's edge from the previous wounds. So Krishna and the Pandavas returned, right, to find the slaughter. Yudhishthira fainted, and they were absolutely incensed. Bhima wanted to kill Drona's son, and so they followed him to the ashram of sage Vyasa on the bank of the Ganges. Here, Ashwatthama thought that his time had come, and so he invoked the Brahmastra against the Pandavas, right? And you will remember the Brahmastra as a weapon that Arjuna is also capable of using. So Arjuna whips out his own Brahmastra, and they proceed to sort of get ready to fire them directly at one another, right? At this point, the sage is like, stop. You can't do this, right? And Arjuna stops his weapon from firing, right? But Ashwatthama doesn't know how to stop his weapon from firing. So he's like, you know what? I'll redirect it. And I'll redirect it, and I'll still win. And so he redirects it at the pregnant Uttara's womb to try to end the lineage of the Pandavas, forever, right? Because remember, Uttara is the woman that the Pandavas are married to. Krishna would save Uttara's unborn child, right? When it was requested by Draupadi and stuff. So she did not, her child did not die. And Ashwatthama was then made to give up the gem on his forehead. And Krishna cursed him, saying that he would then spend 3,000 years wandering the forests with blood and pus oozing out of his injuries and not a soul to talk to. And he was never seen again.
You ever just forget where the off button is for your nuclear bombs?
No, here's the thing. It's not that he forgot. He didn't know that there was an off button.
Quick, send the codes to have them cancel the nuclear strikes. That's a thing we can do.
Yes, it's a thing we can do. I didn't know that.
So, class, what are you thinking?
Archer.
So you...
What?
Oh, no, go ahead if you have something else to say.
I was going to say, Archer, I mean, no. Archer.
Yeah, he's an archer.
Yeah. I was like, it's too Archie.
That said, you will be, let's get into this. So, this is Ashwatthama.
Oh. Oh.
Now, you might notice something is missing.
His shirt? Was
Look,
that... Wait, hold on. Hold on. The gem on his head until the third ascension?
No,
it's there.
It's not a historical thing, it's a class thing.
Oh, a bow.
Yeah, no, this is another archer that does not use a bow and arrow.
That's okay. When he invoked the Brahmastra, he invoked it on a blade of grass. And remember, for the Agnishtara, you could use it on a sword, right? So technically, he only used an arrow for the first one.
That's so with his general temperament and personality, this probably comes from the design just fine.
I'm really surprised that you didn't say anything more about me just saying his shirt.
He is missing a shirt.
Well, because I thought when you said, is he missing something, I thought you meant like is he missing a limb or something? And I was like, the only thing he doesn't have on him is maybe a shirt.
No, he's definitely missing a shirt too. But you probably get it from the design, but you would think he's a berserker just looking at him, and if you look at his personality later...
I was going to say, he does look like he could be a berserker very easily.
And he's very hot-headed, easy to lose his cool. And above all else, he has a lot of pride as a warrior.
Well, yeah. No wonder.
Ashwatthama would be summoned in the... He's a major servant in the Indian lost belt, Kurukshetra, LB4.
Yep.
You'll remember that as the one where God Arjuna rapidly reset the world because of Doman.
Yes.
Well, after all that, like after Doman would convince God Arjuna to reset the world too fast, the Cryptor would have a falling out. The Cryptor is actually the master of Ashwatthama here, but the Cryptor would have a falling out with God Arjuna, who would then take Ashwatthama from the Cryptor, kill him and revive him thousands of times until he managed to break his spirit, and then have Ashwatthama turn against his own master.
Oof.
So eventually Ashwatthama would join Kuldaya and rebel against Arjuna, using in his spirit origin is actually the basis that would be used to combine with a part of Karna's own spirit origin to allow Karna to become Super Karna. So there's that little fun bit there too.
Interesting. So I've got some relationships. Luckily, mostly with characters I know, which is nice, because sometimes...
Like, I don't know this character yet.
Alright. Parvati-sama? No, my body, my power. All of these are a boon from Shiva-sama. Normally, I should head to purify this bloodstained body. I deeply apologize for this body. Okay. Ain't you, Karna? What, you're in this side too? You got an irritating mug as always, hey. But well, whatever. If you want to fight, say the place. By the way, is the boss Duryodhana doing well? What's that guy that gets carried away so much doing? Arjuna, is that you? Ah, shit. What a strange fells. Well, whatever. You're strong. Now, just that's fine. Translation on that one's a little funky. Alright. Arjuna, no, wrong. Who the hell are you? Lost Belt? The last god? Never mind. Return to the Arjuna of always. Ah, I won't return? Ganesha-sama, huh? No, wait. Say what you like, but that's wrong. Hey, what's with those eyes, huh? I don't want Yankees to get involved in my life. You say, who the hell is a Yankee, hey? That's what I meant. What do you mean, hey? And there's no voice lines for Rama and then Chiron and Tristan. It's just describing, like, how he, like, feels about them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Abilities.
So Ashwatthama uses the giant chakram because fuck bows and arrows.
I really appreciate this because I don't know if you remember, but when we were talking about Arjuna and Karna and Rama and Sita, I had mentioned that I really, because I think it was in Rama and Sita. I mentioned that I was a little bit disappointed because Rama and Sita have very Asian designs, like but not like Indian Asian. And I was like, man, we need like a fucking, was it Rama's the one with like the multiple weapons of all his incarnations? And I was like, wait, why don't we get like, I want the chakram specifically.
And Rama has chakrams. You just don't see him very often with. I don't know if they're even in his animations at this point.
Yeah. So it's nice to see a chakram.
But so it wasn't even in his life, but this is Krishna's chakram that he just kind of took as a heroic spirit. It's a weapon exclusive to his servant summoning. Particularly interesting is that his skill with it grows and is retained between summonings in each grill where he's summoned in. So the first time he ever used it, he was probably terrible with it. But like by the time FGO comes around, he's pretty damn decent with it.
I love that.
And I assume that goes into his general like legend. He is kind of a master of arms.
Yeah.
In his legend. Ashwatthama does not usually possess the curse of Krishna at when summoned as a servant. But Arjuna Alter kind of forced it back into him at one point, and that's actually what he used along with regenerative powers to break him. But it also makes him near immortal because wander the earth for 3,000 years. So,
yep.
But yeah, as you'd imagine, when he has it, it causes him immense pain. It's thankfully not something he's normally summoned with, though.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. All right. Incarnation of Rage because of Shiva. Violation of the warrior code, the established warrior class Kshatriya. Interesting. Mani Jewel. With one in his forehead. Okay. So we've got 3 noble phantasms. The first is Sudarshan Chakra Yamaraj.
That is just the big chakram that he stole from Krishna.
Okay. Second one is Brahmashirasta.
So this is a noble phantasm Ashwatthama refuses to use.
Yep.
Probably because of the events of his story, but it's powerful enough to destroy the world, and he was told never to use it under any circumstances.
And then Mahakala Shakti.
Ashwatthama can awaken Mahakala in his Saint Graph, which allows him to send himself or others back in time, but this will cause his Saint Graph to be pushed to the limit.
Interesting. Cool. Alright. Oh. Nope, that's scenario writer. I want designer.
You're right. You push that and you're going to see all the story chapters that Scenario Writer wrote.
Let's see. Character designer for Arjuna, Arjuna Alter, Karna, Ashwatthama, Oda Nobunaga Archer, Oda Nobunaga Avenger, Oda Nobukatsu, Ishida Mitsunari, Thomas Edison, Chacha, Sakamoto Ryoma, Bhima, Duryodhana, Ayus, and Thomas Edison Alter. Wow. That's most of the Indian servants. Interesting. All right. So just the one.
Yep.
Oh, well, that's cool as shit. Oh, what the fuck? Dude. I love it. Yeah, I mean, this is arguably the furthest thing possible from an archer, but somehow I still love it. I was gonna say he threw something, but he didn't. Gotta kick it. You couldn't even punch it, my guy. You just kicked it. I love it.
Why is this man an archer? What's funny is there is a line with Saber Karna which says Ashwatthama raised an eyebrow at Karna's justification as to why he's a saber. Where the fuck is this man coming from?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where he gets the audacity.
Pot calling the kettle black much?
So I do see Scandinavia Pepperoncino.
Yes.
Respectfully, what the fuck is up with that name?
So this is Ashwatthama's cryptor. Ashwatthama being a cryptor servant means that we get to introduce our third to last cryptor. And genuinely, this one's a fan favorite. This is Scandinavia Pepperoncino, a.k.a. Count Pepperon, a.k.a. Sexy Pepe.
This man is gay, right?
Abso-fucking-lutely.
Thank God.
Unambiguously, without a doubt, gay is all hell.
I just had to... I didn't want to be offensive, but I was like, this man is gay, right?
And yes, the name is absolutely fake.
Well, yeah. Freaking Scandinavia.
His real name is actually Aro Myorenji.
Yeah, I see that.
But he no longer goes by that name, and he only really gives that one out to people he truly cares for.
Yeah.
He spends much of the story slyly assisting the master in as many ways as possible without betraying the goals of the cryptors, as he feels a fierce loyalty to Kishtario Odaime and his fellow cryptors. As far as personality goes, he can be described in a few ways: loyal, cunning, deceptive, obviously fiercely gay, effeminate, and perhaps most importantly, willing to get his hands dirty. And that gets into his past. He was actually raised to be a master of the Tengu arts, which makes up much of his magecraft ability. In fact, he was descended from the founder of his particular school. But the truth is that he was raised amongst many others who were kidnapped and forced through the program, forced to either sink or swim. And that program kind of necessitated that they be stripped of their individuality, which would eventually corrupt them into Tengus, if they survived the training at all. So think of it kind of like, I guess, the survival rate of Witchers.
Yeah.
He was a natural and was undoubtedly to be one of the few to succeed, but he had one flaw that nobody else seemed to realize. He just wanted to be himself. He valued his individuality way too much and deeply hated the entire system that he and the other kids were raised in.
I love that for him.
So one day, in order to not only free himself but the souls of his fellow students, he killed everyone at the temple. Both the kidnapped students and the teachers, as anyone still there either could not survive on their own or were already corrupted by the organization.
Lovely.
So he would successfully escape any remnants of the school and his family, changing his identity and working as a freelancer, going on to join Chaldea and eventually becoming one of the Cryptors. I'm going to go ahead and stop there to avoid spoiling anything involving his story in the actual Cosmos of the Lost Belt.
Okay. Nice. All right. Gallery. Oh, almost skipped over Grail League. Oh. And Dream Strikers. I will say, from what I've seen so far of the Dream Strikers, there's a fair bit less individuality and sort of like poses and stuff.
There's a lot more variety with the Grail League.
Yeah, Grail League's there's a lot more going on. From so far, half of the Dream Strikers have just been the character kicking a football, which is not a bad thing. I'm just saying, you know. All right. Oh, we have extra art. Yay. Well, that looks cool as shit. What the fuck? Aww. That's adorable. Basketball boys. Oh, I know one of those people. It's Barth. Bart. Aww. Look at that shit. Being used to carry all the bags.
I mean, he does have a strong relation to Shiva, and he is working with Parvati, so...
That is true. That is very true. Okay, so he's in a Oh, yeah, there's the Dioscuri. And then, I'm not sure... I think that might be Sekhie Kojiro?
I can't tell at this angle.
It looks like someone I know. And I think we've discussed this CE before, but they're in Greece. Like, the iconic white buildings, blue towers, yeah. I always like it when they show off when there's, like, the multiple, where there's multiple people in the CE. Oh, I had two more. Oh, there he is. I was like, where the fuck is he? He's right there. I found him. Oh, yeah, that's right. I know him too now.
Yep. You don't know that character.
No, but... Oh, there he is. He's just with Karna with the boombox. That's great. All right. Feet.
For free?
For free? In this economy? Did I open Redbox? It did. Okay. All right. The one that I couldn't obtain. Oh, that's him reaching for the chakram. All right. I wanted power. I wanted proof of strength. I wanted honor. I wanted a warrior's pride. I wanted it all, and I ended up hurting others and doing many disgraceful things. Because of that, I wasn't able to obtain the chakram. Funny, since it was a weapon that I could easily get a hold of just by stretching my arms out during my past life. I wanted power. I want power to protect you. Protect, and keep on protecting. And if I ever die in battle, I probably won't regret it. But then the moment I made that vow, surprisingly, this weapon of mine suddenly fell to right within my grasp. My pride is infused into this weapon, and what I should protect is now on my back. Nice. Late night chat. Oh my goodness. A return gift from Ashwatthama. The gift is no physical item. Instead, he takes time to speak to you and get to know you better and let you get to know him better as a heroic spirit, as a leader, and a servant. The fact alone is precious enough as it means he is trying to open up to you. Now to converse, the night is long and there is still so much to talk about. Quality time. He gives you quality time? Sign me up for that war. There's the basketball boys buzzer beater. With only seconds left, the final shot to win the game is released as the referee's whistle echoes across the court. I am always angry in battle, but watch me, master. I will win a righteous victory. Okay, red box. Oh, yeah, this came up when we were doing Arjuna, and I think that's Rama? And so. That's Ganesha. But I didn't know the character who was in the front at the time. Even if the combat style has changed to boxing, a warrior still needs to train. It's even more important when a sworn friend joins the fray, just like in those days when they trained together under their mentor.
Fun fact, just because we have Rama on screen right now,
Yeah.
Rama recently got buffed and they changed the name of his Curse of Separation skill in the buff. So people are like, ooh, are we getting Sita soon in FGO?
I want Sita. I want Sita. Heroic Spirit Tour Ashwatthama, which, by the way, he looks great. Fantastic. Stunning. Yep. Santorini, Oya Village. I was right. It was Saito Hajime.
You said Sekhie Kojiro.
Okay, but I was thinking of Saito Hajime. The problem is, I can't remember all their names.
I mean, you've seen them both. It doesn't make much of a difference, but
I know, but like I knew the one I was talking about.
It sounds to me like you need to go watch. What's that? Is it Gintama that has the Shinsengumi as characters?
Yeah, no, that's fair. No, because now I'm like, it was definitely Saito Hajime, but I just couldn't remember that name. I thought of Sekhie Kojiro first, but they're like, I know that they look different. I know I could tell them apart if they were next to one another, but like just seeing one of them out in the middle of, All right, let's go for Hatsumode. Oh, we've seen this before.
Bunch of the cryptors and their servants.
There he is with his cryptor. I love that.
Riding around in his fucking wheel.
Can I also get a ride at that thing? That looks so much fun. Have you seen... Wait. Have you seen those videos of, like, idiots online putting themselves into giant tires and rolling... That's what this feels like.
Honestly, life goals right there.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's Anna.
There's Consort Yu and Lon Ling. You don't know the bottom left, but that one should be...
That's Siegfried?
Sigurd and Ophelia.
Yeah. There's one of two. And then in the back is somebody.
Those two just didn't have their servants shown off yet. Those are Beryl and the one that you another one you haven't met.
Ooh, Greedy Dice. I don't know the character, so I won't go read the description, but he is right up there. Yep. With, I think, Karna. Yeah, that's Karna.
We'll be back at this one.
Yeah. I have a feeling I might know who that purple-haired dude is at this point, given which CEs he's been and with which characters, but I will hold my tongue. Blowin' in the Twilight Wind. Beautiful. Before I knew it, it had become dark. A slightly chilled wind will soon bring night. Ha ha ha! You played to your heart's content. The man laughed. There wasn't a single trace of regret in that smile.
You want me to mix things up for you so that maybe you don't know what that character is? Because I actually don't know for sure.
What?
Both Duryodhana and Bhima are in FGO at this point and were released at the same time. So just throwing that out there.
Are you saying that that's neither of them?
I'm saying... I don't know off the top of my head if it's either of them, but I also don't know if it is one of them, which one it is.
Well, my guess is that it's one of them, obviously.
Yeah.
Partially because I know, I'm 90% certain, I think, that I've heard that Parvati has purple hair as well. So, I think, I could be wrong, but like I've seen something about it. Anyways, that's who I think it is. I think it's Bhima or Duryodhana.
Are we alive?
We should be. Potentially. Perhaps. Mayhaps. By the way, is, for some of the characters, so it shows up, I just thought about asking you this. So it shows up, like, for example, this, it says, like, character name is not accessible to you complete, like, Yuga Kshetra or something? Or, like, so, like, does he have, like, an Archer of title or something? Or is it just that you can't get the character until you've completed the chapter? Does he have that? Well, I thought it said so in the... not here.
In the FGO wiki, maybe?
Story locked. Oh, so the servant itself is locked until you complete Yuga Kshetra?
So I'm sure we'll cover this when we stream. We haven't streamed the Teaching Sekhie a few extra things at FGO video yet, but there are 3 types of servants in FGO that you pull for. There's non-limiteds, which are just anything that you can randomly get.
Yeah.
There's limiteds, which are the stuff that are only available when they have banner rate-ups. Then there's story locks. The way story locks work are they're basically like limiteds, except there's that one story banner. They get added to that banner and that banner only once they're.
But once you've unlocked that banner, can you roll on it at any time?
Yeah, that banner stays forever. Okay. But it's also such a huge banner with so many things in it. It's not reliable.
So, like, if I wanted to like roll on Yuga Kshetra, I'd get access to any of servant that showed up in Yuga Kshetra.
You'll have. It's going to be in a giant pool that includes every story locked servant up to the point where you've completed it.
Oh, okay.
So it's not likely you'd actually get it. Most people consider the banner not worth rolling on.
It's the same. It's the same as our in the
D&D
game.
Yeah.
Okay. Which, speaking of, I need to before I forget, do my logins. Oh, you know what? Probably something I should ask you now. Are there any particular items I should be going for depending on who I'm ascending?
If you know, like, if you see what you need for ascension,
I don't know though.
Start with this. Who are you trying to ascend?
Well, I've got
pick one. Pick one character.
Coulter.
Go to click close. I love how this is all on camera, but none of this is audience can see it. So menu.
Okay.
Enhance.
Okay.
You're gonna go to Ascension. You're gonna find Coulter in the Ascension menu, even though you can't ascend him.
Okay.
So, can't do anything about the statues. If you have the statues, you either have them or you don't right now. Bloodstones and hearts. Now, go back to the ticket.
I don't think there were bloodstones or hearts on it.
Then, doesn't matter what you pick. Unless there's something else, like another certain translation. You can cross-reference that, but my rule of thumb is just grab the one you have the least of.
That's what I've been doing. Let me just check, the two. Okay.
There's something to be said about the stuff that you can't buy normally, but you're not in a grinding mode right now, so
no, I'm certainly just kind of picking whatever I have. I don't have any. There wasn't anything that looked okay. All right. I'm also trying to remember to do the friend point summons, the free ones every day, because I might as well if they're gonna give them to me free.
Yeah.
Plus, I got William Tell last time. Nothing new. Here you go. I think there's some servants you might need to pull out of archive, and there's definitely some servants you need to put into archive. Wait, before you do that, we need a hint for the next servant.
Oh, yeah. Another crypto servant.
Okay. All right.